What is up, everyone? Welcome to BRAP. It's Friday. Can't believe it's May already, May 2nd. I'll tell you, what a great year for gaming, by the way. Some great games have come out so far this year. More recently, some of the better games that I've been playing, South of Midnight and Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is a phenomenal game. I mean, this game is definitely going to be my game of the year. I mean, unless something else comes out later this year that tops this experience, this game is the complete package. Great narrative, great world building, great characters, great combat, great inventory management system. It is just Marsh says, I wish it was June 2nd for Switch weekend. You know what? I hope I can get a Switch. I didn't get a chance to get a pre-order, unfortunately. But yeah, I hope I'm able to get one. Probably won't have much luck the week of launch, but one can hope, right? One can hope. So, but do me a favor, everyone, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Helps the channel out. I'm going to drop here a link here in the live chat, and please let everyone know we're live. And J-Dub will be joining us shortly, I believe. He fortunately he had a storm run through. Storm came through where he lives, and he lost power. So he has reached out to me. He will be here as soon as he can, and we'll have the great J-Dub here with us. And then we're gonna have the rest of the crew here join us shortly as well. But yeah, I gotta say, as I mentioned earlier about this year so far, the first 5 months of the year, I think it's been a really solid year for gaming. We've had AC Shadows, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza or Yakuza, Oblivion remaster, the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters, the new Monster Hunter Kingdom Come Deliverance. I feel like I'm missing some games here. Oh, Assassin's Creed. I said AC Shadows, I think, already. Split Fiction. Split Fiction would probably be another game in conversation for Game of the Year. I haven't played that game yet. But just a lot of great games. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition came out. There's some other games that I'm missing here. I'm sure of it, but so yeah, it's been a great year. It's been a really good year for gaming. Now, we'll talk about the big one that was delayed. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But yeah, I have I got to say and I know we talked a little bit about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Let me know what you think in the live chat, by the way. And those the comments section below. Let me, if you've experienced or been playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33, let me know your thoughts about it, because as I mentioned, it is literally one of the best games I've played. If you've been listening to the show, wow, I'm sorry, I'm reading this interaction between Persona and Destin Legary. Just it's I Destin's interesting, by the way. Destin's an interesting character. He's an interesting individual, I should say, because Persona replied to him the last time we had a back and forth. You said to me you didn't care about industry consolidation and made an unnecessary fuss about time exclusive deals and cosmetic exclusives in Call of Duty. You're not qualified to speak to me. Dismissed. Yeah, I do feel like Destin has definitely Destin took a route of and I don't consider him a game journalist. I just don't. I think he is part of the problem as it relates to the dialogue of the gaming industry. He's just somebody who is, I get it, grifting to grifting to make a buck. And it's funny because Persona said, it's wild seeing some of the same journalists and influencers who were clowning the PS5 Pro, asking who even asked for this, now rushing to buy one after the Xbox price hike news dropped. You're full of shit. You truly disgust me. I don't disagree with Persona here. And the who asked this, right? We always go back to the who asked this. Who asked for the PS5 Pro? Well, clearly there's a market for it, right? And how do and I know we've talked about it on this show, and this is why I don't listen to some of the influencers like the Parises and the Boomsticks and the Destin Legarys, because frankly, I think they're just fucking disingenuous, and they like to monetize off the anger and emotion off of people. There's a lot of that in the world. I don't think we need that in gaming. Politics is like that. Sports. It's a lot of it's just monetizing off the emotion of people, eliciting an emotional response to drive engagement to make money. What's up, Chronorig? What did I just come into? I'm just reading something that just came across my Twitter timeline. And I think Persona brings up a great point. I don't disagree with Persona here. You have people who did ask that question of who are the PS5 Pros for, and that's an easy that to me that's an easy conversation. It doesn't require a lot of the what Lord Asbury. I know what was Ryan McCaffrey's post about PS5 Pro. I didn't. Was that recent? Yet I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to. That saying protect your peace, right? I just got tired of reading the disingenuine takes by people like Destin Legary, people like Paris Lilly, who I just don't think are credible people as it relates to gaming. I just don't. I think they are in the business of making money. They're in the business of marketing themselves as subject matter experts, which they're not. They're in the business of trying to elicit or prey off the emotion of people to make money. So he bought one due to the Xbox price hike. Yeah, no, Croner again. I've done the same thing too. The boomsticks, the Riskets, the biscuit guy. He made a stupid tweet the other day about Game Pass. Talking about, well, Game Pass doesn't cannibalize sales. Clair Expedition or Clair Obscur Expedition 33 sold so 1 million. So much for that narrative of Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Well, no, it does fucking cannibalize sales. On that platform, it does. On the Xbox platform. That is what that conversation is always centered around. The fact that, hey, you know what? The Xbox Game Pass on the Xbox console has a cannibalization effect. So why he would make that comment is just doesn't make. I question, why would you make that comment? It doesn't even make any sense. Because there is no, without a doubt, there is I guarantee you that there was cannibalization, retail cannibalization or retail sales, the cannibalization of retail sales of Expedition 33 because of Game Pass on the Xbox. And you may say, well, Brap, how do you know this? Well, because it's on Game Pass and people subscribe to Game Pass. I actually am currently subscribed to Game Pass, and I did not buy Clair Obscur Expedition 33 because of Game Pass. That is a cannibals. If it wasn't for Game Pass, I would have spent the $50 for that game. I'm an example of someone who used Game Pass as a way to cannibalize retail sales. Now, I'm not saying this to make light of Game Pass or to say it's good or bad. I'm not saying that. Oh, I think Game Pass is a nice option, if you will, or is a different option, a different way for people to consume video games. I got to find this Christopher Dring tweet because he actually tweeted something out. I can't find it now. He tweeted something out related to Game Pass. Let me see if I could find it here. Nah, I can't find it now. And Nate says they know it's cannibalization. They know it cannibalizes sales. I bought it on PS5, but Priscilla played it in Game Pass, and is loving the game. 9 and 10 for her first turn-based RPG, not counting CRPGs. I would have bought it for her. I mean, there you go. I mean, yeah. I mean, so Priscilla is an example of someone who participated in the cannibalization of sales. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, don't make stupid comments like that because you want a console war or you want to drive engagement to your platform or your Twitter account. Don't say things like, "Oh, there goes the narrative," because of Xbox Game Pass cannibalizes sales because it sold 1 million. Well, no, it did cannibalize sales, even though in spite of it selling 1 million, because the majority of those sales came on PC and PlayStation. But yes, in light of it selling at 1 million, there was absolutely cannibalization still. And that's the part that risky guy doesn't understand. And that's why I don't take him fucking seriously. I mean, why would I? It's just a boneheaded comment. Yeah, I mean, Nate's right. So it actually cannibalized that second sale. Absolutely. And again, that's not commentary on yeah, he is T-Rock. Again, that's not commentary on whether or not Game Pass is good or bad. It's just this is what Game Pass is. This is what it does. Yeah, I'm not here to pass judgment on Game Pass and say it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I subscribe to Game Pass, but the reality is it does have a cannibalization effect. To Chris String, big shout out to Chris String, by the way. Oh, by the way, Nate, I got to say something. The combat in Clair Obscur Expedition 33, the turn-based combat, the dodge, the parrying is amazing. To be able to like I can't recall a game turn-based JRPG a game that had turn-based combat where you had the pairing system where you incorporate like pairing elements from like Souls games. Yeah, and I think this is a special game. I don't disagree. Like I wanted to reach out to you. Actually, there was a boss that I fought. Who was this boss? Let me see here. I got to figure out. Damn, why can't I find this? Well, the chromatic luster was awesome. That's a optional boss. Oh, but there was another boss that I fought. Oh, who was this? That's gonna drive me crazy. Damn, wait, this is gonna drive me nuts. Oh, is it the duelist? Is that I don't know if I'm pronouncing that boss's and Nate, do you know I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's that battle against the duelist. And you have and this boss is like Souls like boss, like just like 100 feet tall. Wait, T Rock, are you playing? I want to ask you, T Rock, are you playing this game? Because you should be. So the duelist has like two phases. I mean, like just and so what this game does so well is it combines like it teaches you um the different ways you can parry, block, jump attacks, and then it strings them all together in different boss battles. And the duelist in this particular case incorporates all these different attacks, strings together like parry or dodge or like jump combos. Right? And Nate, how amazing was that boss? And then the music kicks in. The music kicks in, and you're like, yeah, it's let's go. Let's go. And then when I thought I beat him, he gets to the second phase and he whips out another sword and he's introducing all these other attacks. And then you got to jump twice at R and right trigger. And I'm like, oh my, this is amazing. And when you're fighting bosses or different enemy types, there's often visual cues, audio cues to help you time your dodge or parry. And I'm just like, holy shit, that is amazing. And it's amazing that a team of 33 made this game or 30. Yeah, Warwana actually brings up a great point here. I just love that people who avoid Souls games because I don't have the time to learn the parry thing timings are really now that they really just obviously do not like Souls games because they make the effort. Yeah, that boss was amazing. It's just like and then you have the story, the characters, and the relationship building, and it's just like it is so well done. I'm telling you this, and I've talked to Logic about this. They really did, Nate. I think they put a lot of great things from JRPGs, a lot of great things from the Souls games, and just melded those two things to perfection. When you hit those parries it's so rewarding. And even the dodges, when you hit the dodges, when you dodge, it's rewarding. But I was talking to Logic about this. He'll be joining us here shortly. If you've been listening to the show, like you've heard me talk about, um, if you heard me talk about, if you've been watching the show for a while, if you heard me talk about, um, You've heard me talk about Baldur's Gate 3. And Baldur's Gate 3 is the best game that I played this gen. And I got to be honest with you, this game could challenge that title of best game of the gen for me. It is that good. Oh, T-Rock, broaden your horizons, sir. Says nope, turn bases for the birds. T-Rock, try it out, sir. Try it out. I think you might. I know Erica's playing it. I need to get Erica back on the show, by the way. All right. I'm gonna go back to this thing with Destin Legary, though. Oh, actually, I'm gonna go back to what Chris String was saying. He said I had a chat with Kepler on the success of Expedition 33. Plus, I found out that 35% of Expedition 33 players also played Oblivion. It's kind of interesting. That's an interesting data point. Yes, and then someone replies to Christopher Dring. This would have been the headline if it was anyone other than Xbox. Xbox was the number one platform for both games because of Game Pass inclusion. 45% of Expedition 33 players were on Xbox, while 45% of Blue players were on Microsoft's platform. I don't know what this person's referring to. Christopher Drigg responds, of course I wouldn't. Almost every game I write about does better on PlayStation than Xbox unless it's in Game Pass. So go through all my work and see if you can find a single headline where I've said X percentage of sales were on PlayStation. You can't, because that's just baity bullshit. I think this guy is trying to pick a bone with Chris String. Stupid. But then your business page did put in their headline. Okay, maybe headline is the wrong word. I just mean the accompanying text sharing an article. So is it baity bullshit or not? I mean, here we go. If something is factual, then it's not baity or BS until the bias gets added. So Chris String responds in a tweet. I can share more. So the full impact of something like Game Pass, it does drive new users. It does encourage experimentation between games, but players are more likely to try to move on. Game Pass is a nuanced opportunity. I don't disagree with Chris String there. Chris String's absolutely correct here. Oh, T-Rock, it's not the same as Final Fantasy VII, sir. It's better than Final Fantasy VII. T-Rock, if you like Souls games, you would definitely like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. All right, I want to go back to this tweet here. Some guy just responded. Some guy on Twitter responded, sick of the lefty echo chamber, unsubscribed a while back. Assuming he's talking about the BRAP channel Okay, Ann, who the fuck are you? This guy Shinobi at X Metal 808. Like, why would you fucking take time to say that? Shit is wild. Hey, Nate, feel free to, Nate, I'll shoot you an invite right now. All right, Nate, I just shot you the invite to the here's Game Logic. What's up, Logic? Oh, Logic, you have you switched up your profile picture.
$80 is for the payers.
Oh man. Well, a lot of people will be paying $80 very soon.
Yeah, and in the chat, if my mic is too loud, let me know. I switched from my active condenser microphone to a dynamic mic, so Streamlabs is wonky with how it handles the volume levels on those and the feedback visuals on the visual feedback. So just let me know.
Yeah, I what the hell was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about. Logic. Oh no, your profile pic. You have Miyamoto. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm here to celebrate $80 video games, so I thought I'd have a appropriate avatar.
Well, you're part of the problem. You're supporting these greedy corporations. Why would you do that?
So Viper XT says it's a little loud, so I'm gonna drop it.
I think you're fine, but
okay, we'll see how that is.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit earlier to your cannibalization conversation, because I didn't entirely agree with you. I do absolutely believe that cannibalization occurs across platforms, and that cannibalization may be minor, but it's still not zero. And what I mean by that is, there's direct cannibalization and there's indirect cannibalization. So a new gamer coming into the market who goes and makes that critical decision point. Am I going Xbox or PlayStation? And decides to go Xbox, right? Based on the allure of Game Pass, right? Or something else, right? That means that person now can potentially cannibalize the sales for every title going forward, right? That is cross-platform, but is available in Game Pass. And Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is available cross-platform. And we also have people who own both platforms who, just as you commented tonight, right, said, who owns a PlayStation and an Xbox, right, but chose, due to the availability, to play the game in Xbox when you could have bought it on Game Pass. And then there's also cannibalization on PC, because that game is available on Steam, on Epic Game Store, but also via PC Game Pass. And you do have PC players who subscribe to Game Pass because they say, hey, if a game becomes available in Game Pass, I have the option, and I'm going to make the choice to potentially just play it via Game Pass rather than buy it on Steam or Epic. And BRAP, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I guess I did mute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I missed that last point.
On PC, even though it's available on PC, it's available via multiple game stores and multiple access points. Mm-hmm. And you have some people who subscribe to Game Pass on PC who obviously would also have access to Steam and may therefore elect, when a game is available in via both access pathways, to play the game via Game Pass rather than pay for it on Steam or Epic Game Store.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I ended up downloading it on my PC, by the way, after I was shamed for playing it on Series X.
Half of my employment here on the BRAP on the Truth Network is not solely being a co-host on the podcast, but also being your voice of conscience.
Exactly. Like I actually did download it, and it I'm actually the frames, gotta love the frames, higher frames, looks a little bit better. I do have a Nate with us because I was geeking out a little bit about Clair Expedition 33, which I we'll talk about here, Logic, in a bit, about a hot take that I saw. about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, but did want to bring in Nate because we were discussing the gameplay and everything like that. So
Yeah,
Nate, thanks for joining us. Yeah, go ahead, Logic.
When we get to that, I also want to go back to the conversation on Souls, because this is now becoming an age-old, worn-out philosophical debate between Warawana and myself, because I heard Wara's comment that that people who had staved off of Souls games before because they didn't want to be bothered with parry may now find interest via Clair Obscur, and he finds that funny. But I have more to comment on that topic.
Okay. So so we talked about, so I was talking about the cannibalization Game Pass, and what that person was saying, that the million sales dispels that narrative, which I talked about. I do want to move to this commentary.
I was going to say, the reality is it could sell 20 million and it still doesn't mean it didn't cannibalize a sale. All it takes is one to make the thing true. Like, I don't know why people are arguing that.
Right. It's as if, like, if the game sells above a certain threshold at that point, the notion that there's cannibalization is completely dispelled. I'm like, no, that's actually not the way it works.
Exactly. I mean, Nate mentioned Priscilla, who got it on Game Pass. Priscilla and I are examples of people who participate in the cannibalization of sales because we got it through Game Pass.
Now, I'm all for having a discussion about, okay, but was the impact significant? That's the actual nuance in the conversation that actually intelligent people need to have. Like,
you're asking too much of people, though.
Well, this is what bothers me, right? And I get it. I totally get it. Somebody says that it cannibalizes sales, and rather than having an actual discussion of the economics of the market, they're using it as a weaponized term, right? To downgrade Game Pass, right? And so I get it. The Xbox fans then get all in their feelings and they say, well, it doesn't cannibalize sales. And I'm like, but you just, again, two wrongs don't make a right, right? You just platformed off of one person's absolutist argument, right, to make an absolutist counter argument, and none of you two knuckleheads are correct, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yay, verily. But we don't. So what's true is absolutely true is some amount of sales greater than zero were cannibalized by the presence of the game on Game Pass. Furthermore, some number of sales were also negatively impacted by the shadow drop of the Oblivion remaster 2 days beforehand. Right now, I'm up for having a conversation about whether or not those impacts were significant. And that is a nuanced conversation that it takes a great deal of detail to get into. And at a certain point bottoms out because we simply don't have the granularity of information and data that would be required to come to a conclusion. But we shouldn't be taking an argument off the table simply because, it achieved some modicum of success. So therefore, right, any argument that this is a problem, right, is non-existent. And that's just simply absolutely not true.
Well, and by the way, I will be broadcasting in the future on BRAP, by the way, starting after Memorial Day weekend when I open up my pool. I will be broadcasting live from my pool, by the way. Because
shirtless.
Yes, shirtless. Thank you. Shirtless. So apparently that's the way you discuss or how you discuss video games these days. But anyway, let me grab the super chat here real quick. Donnell Brown, the $5 super chat. After Raiders. We are the toxic gaming community. Appreciate you and your members for your podcast. I will listen to your show Sunday on my way to Watsonville. Thank you for that. Donnell, hopefully you have a safe trip to Watsonville as well. Good sir.
Is he going to pick strawberries?
I don't know. No idea. But oh, and then Lord Israel brings up also how big was the check that Microsoft gave them?
Yes,
that's another part of the conversation,
right? Absolutely.
Argued with me on Twitter, and I was like, "Look, the reality is because people are using the Power World devs, anecdotal experience." As the barometer for everyone who's been in Game Pass has had a phenomenal experience. They loved it. It saved their world. It fed their kids for the next 40 years. Like, come on. Like, we know that's not the case. Like, we've had several other people who didn't have that same experience. The Power World dev is just saying that because their game came out at $23.99 for several months, and it turned into a phenomenon and sold like crazy. I was like, so that's why they don't care. But I was like, that's cool for him, and great job for him that he loved his experience with that game and that other terrible game that they released, Craftopia, on Game Pass. Like, that's cool, but that has nothing to do with whether or not we don't know personally if they specifically are happy with the deal they had in place in order to get that game on there, right? Because like people are like, no, 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 you don't understand. I'm sure Microsoft would go back and adjust the deal, after the success they've seen from this game. And I was like, have you ever made or seen a business deal in your life? If that is not written into the contract, like they don't just revisit a deal for funsies because, man, I really like you, bro. So what a swell job you did, and I think we should give you more money. Like, that's not how contracts work. Like, people are just insufferable with this thing, man.
I mean, another vector of that conversation, it's similar to cannibalization, but it's not the same, is I've also pushed back on this notion that when Xbox comes out with this, hey, 10 million people touched a game, right? That, and then Xbox fans proclaim that, oh, well, therefore it's a success. And so I really like the thing that Dring put out this week, which showed that despite the higher percentage of people who had touched Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on Xbox, that they'd actually played fewer average hours of the game. And again, this is, that data is over a very small period of time. I think like over like 2 weeks ish. So it's not huge. So that there's not a huge delta right now between the average number of hours that a PlayStation player has played the game or a PC player has played the game versus Xbox. However, the longer that game is deployed and the more time that people spend in playing it, that gap will get larger. So, it's only like a 2.5 hour gap right now today, but extrapolate that into the future and it's going to get bigger. And so when people who are looking at this data say, hey, look, Xbox players certainly play a lot of different games, but simply due to the nature of the customer that it attracts into a subscription to that type of service, and the behavioral market participation of Xbox players, you need to understand that Xbox players on a per title basis typically tend to not play as much of a game as other people do who buy it, right? And what happens when you say that is we get in our feels, right? There's all this like gymnastics, right? And Pilates and yoga to try and twist themselves into a pretzel because they're offended because they think that you're saying, well, Xbox people don't play games. Yes, we are saying that, right, to a certain extent for the people who are casuals and are non-discriminating customers and just signed up to an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord subscription service because they don't want to be bothered with making, laser precise selections of the games that they play and the amount of time that they spend playing them. And they're not invested and committed to any particular title because they haven't spent $60, $70, $40 on it, right? Nobody's saying that that's an indictment. Nobody's saying that those people aren't gamers. Nobody's saying that those people don't care. We're just simply saying their behavioral, right? Their behaviors on the market are different. And therefore also people shouldn't be taking that number and waving it as a terrible towel and saying, oh, see, the game is actually successful and has critical acclaim. So all the reviews and things surrounding it are actually bad. I mean, no, right? 10 million people touched the game. Like, and again, don't take this the wrong way. I'm just going to encase it in this analog to make my point. Just because you touch a girl's panties doesn't mean that you've gotten laid. So like the problem with the perspective, right, is that, 10 million people touched it, therefore 10 million people liked it. I'm like, no, 9 million of those people were simply toe dipping, right? And going out on a first date, and aren't actually interested and invested in the game. Maybe there's 1 million people, right, that actually think their game's successful. So don't be running around saying, the game's super, super popular, super huge, it blew up, 10 million people played it. I'm like, no, 10 million people crop dusted it and grazed it, right, just to see how it was. And then they booted the game up, they played for a few minutes, and then they put it away. So, we shouldn't be standing on that number as indications of critical success.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to your point, in two facets, right? Something I got on somebody on earlier because to that point that reported number about what they played, right? Um, somebody was like, well, I'd argue the reason is because gamers on Xbox have so many options. And he goes, example, and he shows, his 715 games he has on Xbox. And I was like, okay, hold my beer. Give me 1 second. So I pull up my Steam alone, which has 1,843 games. I got Game Pass Ultimate, so I got all the games he got. 709 games on my PlayStation, 325 on Epic, and I didn't even bring in the rest of the stuff I have access to. Like I left the Switch out of this. I left the emulation collection out of this. I left several things out of this. So I was like, this whole notion that you have more options or is crazy. Like no, you just not committed. You just not feeling the game, and that's okay. Like stop trying to stop making excuses is my thing for why you're not playing a game. And also in that screenshot I included where I have 47 hours in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So you either about that life or you not. And it's okay. A lot of people always trying to portray that they about that life. If you not, just it's cool. Just be who you are. If you just playing Oblivion or you just playing something else, or none of these games that recently dropped are for you, just because you got them downloaded on your Xbox does not mean that you are about that life. Like I'm sick of that excuse. I got too many options. Nah, we all got options out here. I got plenty, and I got way more than several of these people. But it doesn't stop me from committing to playing an amazing game, and some people it's just not going to be that, and that's fine. um but yeah, I just that excuse to me is it just has just been wild. I forgot the other point I was going to make based off of what you said something else, but yeah, that was another point of contention that I keep seeing, or an excuse as to why the number was cut in half on Xbox. And like you said, it's not a long time, and it's like clearly some people are playing the game, for a long time. Several people posted they're playing, for 2 hours and so on and so forth. Or not 2 hours, but for several hours, 40 plus hours on Game Pass. So it's not to say no one's playing. Oh, that was my other point. The other thing is I always see this thing where they're like, oh, it's in Game Pass. It doesn't matter like how much they play it or how far they got. And I'm like, no, actually it does matter. See, that this is another problem I keep telling them. It's like just because it's in Game Pass and they footed the bill, right, doesn't mean Xbox is going to foot the bill for the next game, right? So now that company is looking and they're like, well, the engagement we got off of that, everybody stopped by chapter 2. We got about 2% of people who actually completed the game. How are we feeling about putting our next game on Xbox without the support of Game Pass? Like Microsoft doesn't want to foot the bill because on Microsoft's end, they didn't think the engagement was worth it. The company doesn't think the engagement is worth it. And then the next game skips Xbox. But they think the amount that they play a game, or the amount of time they engage with a game, or if they completed it, is unimportant. And it's like, no, these companies can see the data, and that has actually been why some new games or sequels to games that were on Game Pass prior do not just skip Xbox entirely on the next one. So again, that stuff is important. Like people think, oh, it's not, might not be important for them, but when the next game skips you, like, don't be surprised.
The panties comment logic, I that stuck in my head now for some reason. I'm sorry.
Oh
Didn't mean
yeah,
to
I know
derail what
that
you
that
just
comment
said,
killed
but
me.
I'm like, oh, I'm thinking, wait a minute, like he's got a point. It's a great analogy, by the way, logic. I do want to move on to something real quick here. As relates to Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which again I'm loving. Someone tweeted out this week, Logic, and I single you out, Logic, because you responded to this tweet. But actually, someone actually tweeted out made to Act 3 in Expedition 33 last night, and I don't think I've experienced a video game story this ambitious, so eager to say something extremely profound to the medium, to this medium in years. Top five best RPG of my life. Uh, I won't share his name, but he's been on the show before. This individual replies, Expedition 33 is many great things, but unless you've never read another story in your life, extremely profound, it is not. So, Logic, you had a bit of a rebuttal of that, and we've talked about this this week, and I agree with you. I'll let you share your thoughts with the audience here, but I agree with you, and don't wait. Hero Downer says no spoilers. We will not discuss spoilers. Well, if anything, we'll talk about like the combat. We won't get into specific details of the narrative and things like that. We're not going to do that. So we'll give very high level stuff in terms of like I was just ranting and raving about a boss battle that I had and some of the Souls-like influence in this game and the melding of the Souls mechanics and JRPG turn-based and all that stuff and how great that this game does it. But anyhow, Logic, want to go to you on this. Yeah, so please share with the audience like what you thought about this particular comment that, hey, unless you've never read or seen another story in your life that extremely profound this game just isn't extremely profound as this other person thinks it is.
Like I just don't. I mean, at the outset, and I will admit there was a little bit of pre-planned response in this because I was kind of in a mood during this week, and I said, you'll appreciate this. I said, the first person I see trying to drag Clair Obscur on social media, I'm gonna blow them up. Like I was already locked and loaded. So when of course I logged into Twitter and saw this individual going at somebody for their love of Clair Obscur, I'm like, and I explained it a little further in a response tweet that somebody else said. I said, look at the person's tweet, look at the original poster's tweet, and how many caveats were in there. I get it. Somebody with a law degree probably struggles with things like reading comprehension and English grammar. I understand that. It's facetious. Actually, no, I don't, because that's actually supposed to be what their career and their job is supposed to be about. And I'm like, this person said I twice in the introduction of their comment. They said for me in another part of their comment, and they said in this medium in another. I'm like, there are 4 caveats in there that contain the scope of the statement that they're trying to make. They're not out here running around saying that the game is game of the year. They're not out here saying not enough people have played it. They're not out here saying, nobody should be talking about anything but Clair Obscur. Nobody should be proclaiming, they didn't say this game should be at the top of every top 100 gaming. Like there were none of these extrapolations of hyperbole. They just said, in my experience, and in the game, they also limited it by time. They said in the last few years. They said, in my experience, over the last few years, I haven't experienced a game that has been trying to convey as many. And now I'm just kind of extrapolating and paraphrasing what they said. I haven't experienced a game that has been trying to convey to me as many things and as many sophisticated things in terms of a message as this game, right? And then this individual, right, tried to marginalize and be dismissive and be reductive in their comment. And overall, despite my hyper-specific problems with their critical response, right, I was like, why are you even trying to do this? This guy has 2,000 followers. You have 37,000, right? And your stated claim to your relevance of your dialogue in the gaming conversation is based on your legal experience. I'm like, is this a legal matter? Right? Is anybody out here trying to legislate whether or not Clair Obscur is a great game or not? So why are you even commenting? And I'm like, and you don't have a track record. First of all, your commentary on the gaming business and even the legal aspects of the gaming business, I find particularly suspect for somebody who supposedly has a law degree. Like I haven't honestly seen this individual exude a depth of domain expertise that I find particularly impressive. I typically, for anybody who's read any John Grisham novels and you're kind of familiar with like the description of this archetype of a greasy spoon lawyer who like eats, in the local Southern delicacy, greasy spoon diner and has ketchup and mustard on their tie, which they're wearing with a button down collared shirt, right? That's kind of what is in my image of this person. as a member of the legal community. But I'm like, you especially don't have any track record for having any depth of like conversation in the critical and the creative space, right? So I'm just like, dude, just I hate to say stay in your lane, but I'm like, I mean, like, why would you be bothered making this comment? What is your point and what you're trying to achieve? Because the only thing I can see that you're trying to achieve is you're trying to restrict and gatekeep the level of praise that there is about this game, which was made by 30 developers, right? I mean, there is practically no objective goal, right, that anyone would be trying to accomplish by making the comment that you said, except to be a dick, you know? So that's just where I went with it.
No,
I
yeah,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I agree with everything Logic just said because now I know who he's talking about. And honestly, I've said for a long time, I hate that that person got famous or the following that they have via the whole Activision Blizzard deal thing because that's where all those followers came from. People were hanging on every word this person said. They were celebrating in the street when that deal went through, only to be where we are today, which is hilarious, by the way. But yeah, I mean the phrasing and what that person stated, like you said, number one, they're not known to be any foremost expert at all in the gaming space to begin with, and stating that is crazy work. Because I'm like, nah, we could sit on a panel and go blow for blow when it comes to writing, and he's not ready for that. So like trying to say and downplay the story as if it's like whatever in comparison to other stories is crazy because I've had this conversation with another friend of the channel, Ramon Terrell, who we know works in screenplays and all these other things, and I talked to him extensively about how I've just dove headfirst into audiobooks over the last, probably 8 years or so, and have just been blown away by the level of writing and books that I've discovered, right? And I've mentioned and done a post not too long ago where I explained that the level of acceptable writing in gaming overall frustrated me because I've experienced such great writing that when I experience, average or less than average writing in a lot of games, it makes it harder for me to enjoy because it's being written by someone who's, number one, a lot of times profession is writing, right? They're supposed to be professional writers. They're missing a lot of cues about things that make people love these characters in these worlds and how important all these things play into the games that we love, right? And to, number one, come at Expedition 33 over that is insane because Expedition 33, when we get into it, like nothing has come close to this in a very long time when it comes to character development, world building, and just this love and intricacy that they have for each character. And nobody is a throwaway character. They are all written so well and so important to each piece in reminiscence of one of our favorite games, the Mass Effect series, and why people remember every single character in those games, but they couldn't tell you the name of a single character from Andromeda. They like that was the difference.
By the way, this person, by the way, their favorite of the Mass Effect games is in fact Andromeda.
See, I rest my case.
It's hard for me to take what they just said here serious. Just no, look, if if you liked Andromeda, good for you. But what I'm saying is, like him saying this and the irony of saying this and then saying Andromeda is the best of the Mass Effect series is like, whoa, wait a minute, what? Like, are you serious?
Insane. That's literally insane. Oh, and then I realized the way he wrote that thing when I actually clicked on it. He's quoting someone else who's recently popular, which I realized is why he commented on that in the first place.
Oh,
Because
who else is popular that said this?
this Limitless account, he like usually when he tweets about JRPG specifically, it can get like, you know, up to 10, 15,000 likes. So it's more of an engagement thing. That's why I realized he quoted this person. Like they've been all over the place lately, but specifically with Expedition 33, but with quite a few other games recently. So I realized I noticed that engagement with specific accounts, and that's part of the reason why he made that comment. But saying that it's not extremely profound is wild to me. Like,
Well, and to use the
I mean,
disingenuous, this person made, in my opinion, a statement with a reasonably confined scope, right, of what they were trying to say, and for him to take that limited scope and twist it to where it became a global infinite scope, like saying that if you've read any book or seen any movie, right, ever in your entire life, right, that it's not profound. And I'm like, just what a intellectually, like what an intellectual lie of thought, right? In an art, like just entirely twisting the rules of logic that have been applied since the Greeks, right, in the course of a discussion is just wild to me. And again, for this person to be a lawyer, right, where law is heavily based, right, on those exact types of societies, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Logic. The other thing, and you and I talked about this. It isn't so much that this is like, I think I kind of think he was like saying, well, this is an original piece of work, so therefore it's not profound. And I'm like, no, bullshit, because you and I talked about this. Logic. It's like, I don't think like the impact of this game, or I think the original, the person who originally tweeted that the game was, I think they said extremely profound. Like, I don't think you could just measure profoundness by, by originality, right? And I think that's kind of what he's trying to allude to here. The person that, God, it's hard to say without saying their name. The person who's being disingenuous here in their quote tweet of what this other individual is saying. But like you and I talked about, it's the execution of this. It's them sticking the landing. Like, how many other games have and not just games, but other entertainment mediums, music, movies, television, right? But it's the execution of those things. And
I mean, it's like
with this, yeah,
like I say, there's 7 plots in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So across all storytelling formats, nobody should be surprised that you're almost always going to find similarities, right? But from one news story that came out to another one that you've been previously exposed to. But yeah, like you're saying, BRAP, right? It is what's very true of Expedition 33 is that, you know, you will see bits and pieces of elements of the story that have absolutely been presented in other things, but it is the way in which it melds all those into a combinatorial impact that that makes you that just raises the elevation of kind of the intellectual depth of which you know, of the things that you've been presented in your average comment video games. It makes you question lots of things. I will also say, and I don't know a lot about this individual's personal life, but I will definitely say, because I've alluded to this before, when, you know, about things like The Walking Dead and God of War and The Last of Us. If you are not a parent, and so you're kind of missing that plane of thought that where you consider a lot of these things. And I'm not saying like there's something wrong with you if you're not a parent. I'm saying, you know, in many cases as a gamer, you're just going to have a period of your life that you play games where that synthesis isn't part of your view lens through which you're interpreting games. But I will say, it's as a parent, there's another plane of thought that is evoked by the things that you're presented in this game, right? So I mean, that's just, I mean, yeah, just in the similar, like I started watching The Walking Dead when I was before I had kids. I watched like the first season, and then I came back the next year after my first kid was born, and I was like, oh shit, like this is making me consider a lot of things that I didn't consider before, right? Because I wasn't a parent and I wasn't responsible for the life of another person. So, you know, like I said, it was just a totally, it's just jacknut comment. I mean, the thing that I wrote on Twitter today, which I think some people picked up on, is I'll just read out the tweet. When someone drags the story and narrative of a game, it is just as likely that the person, one, puts more weight on game mechanics and combat than story, and because they don't like something in those or areas of the game, they're unable to filter out their angst about that stuff, and therefore drag the story. Right? The things that they're concerned about in the game they don't like, so therefore they just drag the entire game. But then the other thing is, two, they just lack the depth and interest in art and literature and storytelling to grasp the deeper meaning that a given narrative is trying to convey and explore. They may not have the necessary emotional intelligence to grasp those things, what Everborn Saga refers to as having good taste. Some people are just broken and therefore can't hear, see, or smell a message that a game is trying to let you imbibe. So I mean, I think it's the latter that actually impacts this individual and their inability to really grasp what the impact and significance of this particular game is. But I think that also goes, very much so for some people's consideration of things like Death Stranding, South of Midnight, and The Last of Us Part 2. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, and the other thing too is the subjective, like we talked about, like how art is subjective. And that what this person doesn't realize is that why he might not think that this is groundbreaking or extremely profound, that someone may feel otherwise, right? And that's okay. We all don't like or enjoy the same things, but to me, that's the beauty of video games. And so I don't know. Yeah, I felt like he was being very dismissive too of that person's experience with this game.
Oh yeah, he definitely was. He was being dismissive and reductive, in both that person's opinion and the game. Like, because number one, like, it's like obviously given the time it's been out, a lot of people haven't even completed it unless you got it early, typically. So it's like you're not even there yet, right? And as someone who's still making my way through the game, as I get to key different points, right? In intervals throughout the game, it's what is elevating the game in score for me, and has done so for Priscilla, right? But it again, this is another thing that it's hard to explain when people haven't experienced that era when JRPGs did this to an unbelievable, crazy level of execution. And that's why I said this game reminds me of it, right? Like I literally had this conversation with Priscilla because she's very much a graphics person. It's tough to get her to go back and play some of these games. She will watch me play like Xenogears for the 900th time, but and love and get into the story. And she always says, I love the way you explain that, it's so amazing. But like she's a graphics person. She's like, if they remake it, I'm there day one. And this, like I said, is her first turn-based game, not including CRPGs. I always tell people, so not including Baldur's Gate 3, because that is a different type of turn-based. I don't want to conflate the two. But again, she was just like, oh my god, like I'm telling you, this is from like experience in the house. Like she's playing in the bedroom, and I can hear her like, oh my god, oh yes, oh wow, and then something else happens. She's like, oh my god, woo! Like she's just like, I mean, these are like live just reactions. I wish I had it recorded, like the level of excitement and just profound experience she is having in this game, because by definition it is for great emotion or intense emotion. So for that person to say it's not profound, I feel like he hasn't even played the game, number one, because it's nothing but emotion, and a lot of it. But yeah, like this is just giving so much, when it comes to, like you said, the execution is, there's no other way to say it, right? It has all these key points, these reveals, these moments, and it's when they come, how they come, the type of characters you're introduced to, that inhabit this world, their own philosophies, the way each character interacts with each other. Like, honestly, man, look, like I said, everything's not for everybody. So everybody's free to, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it, and that's okay. There's lots of games. I tell people all the time, there's lots of games. I was like, I told people if I actually made a list of games I didn't like people would have a panic attack, Like, how could you not
I
like
think
that game?
I think
You
I
know,
think this person just plays Madden all year long. But
but that's what it feels like, right?
yeah,
And
I
like I
mean,
said, but like I said, when you're popular, right, or you're trying to keep your name in the popularity contest, they'll comment on whatever's popular, even if it's not their thing. And I think that's really where that comment came from, because I see that from a lot of people, and they're just like, I don't get why this thing is it, so I'm gonna comment on why I don't think it's it, even if I'm not playing it or I'm not into it. Like, and
yeah,
I like, we never do that. You talk about that. You don't do that. You will defer to someone if it's not your game or
yeah.
whatever. You will defer. Like, you will constantly, you will ask Logic
Mhm.
plenty of times. So what's the word on Call of Duty these days? You know, what's the jam? You know, and you know he'll give you the truth, because you're like, I'm not playing that right now, so I can't tell you. And I think
Mhm.
that that's the bigger thing, is like, some people just need to acknowledge, like, and I mean, Logic said he hate to say it, but I don't. I'm gonna say it. Stay in your lane. Like, I don't hate to tell people that, because a lot of people do need to stay in their lane. Um, and I think this is, and the reason I say that, on top of that, speaking towards Expedition 33, right? The score, right? That it got for Metacritic, I think this is a prime example of when a lot of people got a hold of a game that were meant to review it, right? There's nothing more I hate when someone, and I tell people this all the time. I was like, you don't want me to review 90% of the games Nintendo puts out. It would be terrible. Because although I would acknowledge it's probably a well put together game, I don't like most of what they put out. Like, you don't want me to review the next Kirby game. Like, I promise you. I love Kirby. I think he's hilarious. I think he's a wonderful character. But I don't play those games anymore. So I would be the worst person on the planet to review the next Kirby game.
Mhm.
Like, so that is also important. You have to be into this, and this is why I explained, and Priscilla, she didn't particularly get it per se at first, but like, now that she's experiencing it, and I love this, because again, she's someone who, again, I got into the Mass Effect series thankfully right before 3 came out, and she has such a profound and tied experience to that. And I keep conflating these two, or putting them together, right? Because the key factor in a lot of these is like I said, these memorable moments and these well written characters where you bother to really remember them and know their names. Like I said, I challenge people a lot of the times, like, when they say they really love something, I'm like, well, what do you remember about that? Because to me, that's the thing that states, like, when something is really great, it sticks with you, right? Like, you know, Logic was bringing up the God of War, right? Like, I didn't jump in people's comments who had boys, you know, who have children, and they're like, you know, as a father, this game means so much more to me than I thought it would, and the experiences that it goes through. I don't have kids. It meant a lot to me in the writing and a lot of other stuff, but I didn't jump in their comments and be like, whatever, you know? Like, no. Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
I let that person speak their truth, and
you've
I'm like,
never
yo, that is dope. Like,
you've
I'm
never
glad that
experienced a
that
dad story before.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, basically that. That's basically what they did. Like, how whatever. Like, there's plenty of, you know, father stories of the year. Like, and it's like, yeah, but that's not the point. It's just it's just so different. And I was saying, obviously, with the recent uptake in Hollywood, coming after our games for adaptations lately, I do find it funny. When I Probably a decade ago, I remember a while now, seeing, you know, lots of people comment from Hollywood about how video games are not real art, and, you know, all those arguments. And I'm just laughing now, because you know, after all that time, and they finally did some proper adaptations, especially you know, the Fallout series, which was amazingly done. Now they, you know, here they come. Yeah, Expedition 33 didn't even get to breathe out of the gate, and they announced they wanted to do an adaptation for that game. So yeah, man, I think the right people are appreciating these titles. I think the right people are getting a hold of these titles. And I mean, I am personally extremely excited for people, like I said, like Priscilla and like Hero in the chat, you know, who has, you know, stated how excited he is to experience this, because this is his first, you know, turn-based game where he is like, man, this, I feel like this converted me. I feel like I need more of this. Like, you're telling me this is what I've been missing. This level of story, this level of execution in some of these games is at this level, and I've been missing it. And he's like, man, I told him, I was like, look, we'll sit down one day. I'll give you the lowdown. I'll break them down for you, and welcome you into the world of turn-based RPGs, uh, because it is long and varied and full of amazing games. So, yeah, and recently, one more thing, another podcast, mind you, and this, you'll like this one, Brap. Someone who used to talk a lot of trash about Fire Emblem, and when he didn't, I don't understand why people like these games. Why do people like these games? And he got a taste of Fire Emblem. He started Fire Emblem Three Houses, and he goes, "I was wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. This game is amazing. These games are amazing. I want to play every Fire Emblem ever made. I was so wrong." And I just laughed. I was like, dude, I keep telling y'all, man, stop talking before you get a taste of it.
Yeah, no, it's just it's I was just thinking about what you were saying. You talk about God of War and stuff and some of these other games. I mean, I've always
Mhm.
thought, like, sometimes I play games that maybe aren't historically groundbreaking, right? In their concept, but I think you said something like games that you remember. And typically those games that I remember are games that connected with me,
Exactly.
and so, and that's and they did so because of the execution, of the things that the game was trying to do.
Hmm.
And that's what this person's missing. But anyhow, I want to grab this super chat here. Hold on a sec here. Look, it's Bobor Country, $5 super chat. Says it's an amazing experience like God of War. He's saying Brock and Cindy Arc, Last of Us, entire 2-part story. Expedition 33 is an amazing, well-written piece of art. Thank you for that super chat, Bobor. Appreciate it. Great to see you in the chat. All right, I do want to move on to another topic here. Give me a second here. I got to pull this up. Hey, that battle with the duelist. Oh my gosh.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, that was wow.
You're not gonna stop getting chills like that this whole game.
All right, yeah. Let's just be careful. You don't spoil anything. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you're not. It just keeps on giving. Trust me.
All right, we have news. Microsoft has now raised the price of all Xbox Series consoles. Xbox games confirmed to hit $80 this holiday. They say, we understand that these changes are challenging. And this article by IGN, Rebecca Valentine, Microsoft is raising prices on Xbox by a lot. In an announcement today, this was actually not today, but yesterday, the company said it'll be raising Xbox prices on Xbox consoles, controllers, headsets, and some games. The price hike for consoles and accessories kicks in today, May 1st. And while game prices will stay the same for now, we should expect to see Xbox charging $80 for first-party games around the holiday season. Price increases are taking effect globally, with the exception of headset prices, which are only going up in the U.S. and Canada. Going forward, here are the expected prices on various Xbox consoles and accessories in the U.S. The Xbox Series S 512 gigabyte model will go up from $299 to $379. The Xbox Series S 1 terabyte model will go up in price from $349 to $429. The Xbox Series X digital will increase $100 from $449 to $100. That's fucking brutal. $449 to $549. Xbox Series X will increase another $100 from $499 to $599. The Xbox Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Special Edition will go up $130 from $599 to $729. The Xbox wireless controllers will go up to $64.99. The Xbox wireless controller color will go up to $69.99. and so on. I'm not going to read out the headsets and everything. But yeah, here we are. Price increases. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. Like some of these prices were insane. Like I couldn't believe the increase specifically. I mean, on any of the hardware, but like the Series S, I was like, we're talking about a device they were selling at one point, like this past holiday. You could have got several times for 149, 149, and it is almost the price of a PS5, PS5 digital or the bundle for the matter of fact, the bundle with Astrobot. That is like I don't even know what to say about that. Like I'm just like these price hikes just seem just completely weird to me. Like you're already struggling to sell the device, and the thought process is we're just gonna raise the prices. Like I mean, obviously there are factors in this, economical and so on and so forth, but I'm like, as logic would typically say, the market will bear what the market will bear, and I really don't see anyone bearing, you know, any of these prices for an
Mm,
Xbox, especially
I don't
because
disagree.
like I went to offer up not too long ago, and most people were trying to get rid of their Xbox Series X's, uh, with other with games and other stuff for like 350, and I'm like, you're telling me you're trying to charge me like $600 for this, and I'm just like, like I don't know, man. These prices are silly, and like the 2 terabyte 729, like now you're
More
priced
than a
higher,
PS5 Pro.
more than a PS5 Pro. Like that is insane. Like and shout out to the a couple of my people on my timeline that didn't have a PS5 Pro that woke up and got their behinds to the store extremely quickly. Shout out to a lot of my newly my new pro owners out there. They saw the light after that crazy price. So shout out to Xbox for that PlayStation marketing, because it got a lot of people to wake up. Um, but yeah, honestly, I'm in disbelief. Is essentially all I've really felt since I've seen some of these price hikes. Like I was just like, I don't know where they think these things are gonna sell at that price. Like I'm sure someone with an extraordinary amount of extra income for no reason, maybe, but like your offerings so far haven't warranted that, and I don't really know where they believe that I guess that price is justified and is going to be supported. Like it's man, if they thought the numbers were low before, man, this is going to be really a weird time going forward. So yeah, I just don't even know what to say, man. Those price hikes were insane. 80 to $100 is insane.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. That's why I think I said holy shit, the $100 price increase. Um, Microsoft said we understand that these changes are challenging and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen, ensuring value for Xbox players. To your point, Nate, I mean, they were having challenges with selling hardware at the old price point, and now they've increased the price point $100, 129, whatever the case is, depending on the SKU you get. I don't disagree that they're going to. I can't imagine this is going to make it any easier for them to sell consoles. And the first thing I thought about when I read marketing conditions, I immediately thought of tariffs, and I'm wondering if this is kind of that preemptive move because they understand the impact of tariffs. And
Yeah.
we've talked about on this show a little bit about tariffs, and I've had this conversation with many of my friends who support a particular president who think tariffs are good. And I'm like, no, tariffs are not generally good. Um, those costs are typically passed on to consumers. So, but I do want to say something because I was thinking about Sony, but I don't want to bring up Sony just yet. But Logic, what are your thoughts about the price increase here? And do you think this is a result of the tariffs too when they say market conditions?
I mean, look, where I am personally, just over the last few weeks, we've been talking about rising prices about gaming products for a very long time. And I mean, personally, and I'm not saying that your question doesn't make sense. At this point, tariffs, like the causality doesn't matter. Like prices are rising on gaming products. Some of you guys are going to get priced out of the market. I'm being priced out of the market. I'm having to do things like consider, when am I going to be able to buy a GPU for less than $1,000? And if that condition persists in the next year, should I consider just getting a PS5 Pro for now? Am I going to invest less in PC hardware? Am I going to make some type of pivot, right, that is driven by the economic factors of the gaming industry changing? And so whether it's due to tariffs or luxury products or I forget, somebody mentioned in the chat a few weeks ago about, I forget what the name of the effect is in the luxury product market, where luxury products go up in price and that actually creates higher demand. I'm not sure, so I mean, whether it's tariffs make sense. Whether or not people are using tariffs as a boogeyman to excuse raising prices, like prices are going up, and we're all going to have to make choices. I wrote an article today that we in the center of the gaming discussion and big influencers, we've had this bravado for the last 2 decades, right? Where somebody comes to us and says, you're just console warring, or that's just because it's not your preferred platform. Our anti-clout defense has been, well, I game on all platforms, right? That's become the norm, right, over the last 2 decades. And I was talking to TK and Everborn, the host of the Gaming Circle podcast, and look, I think the reality is I don't know that we're all going to be saying that next generation, right? I think there are lots of us who are going to be saying, yeah, I play on 1 or 2 platforms because the economics of being able to afford all 3 are just becoming non-tenable. Two, we told everybody prices on Xbox stuff was going to go up, right? We said this when the Nintendo Switch 2 dropped. We said, look, PlayStation signaling what they're going to do next generation. You're not going to buy a $499, right? Whatever the premier console is for PlayStation, it's probably not going to be $499. We've said that all these guys are going to raise prices this year. So here we are.
Lodge, to your point about like not owning multiple platforms. Yeah, I think I think a lot of us are going to be having that conversation in our minds. Does it make sense for us to buy multiple platforms now? Because I'm kind of in the same boat on the PC side with GPUs, and I'm used to owning everything, and now everything may not make sense because of the increased cost of gaming. But I mean, like $80 games when Nintendo did it, I don't know if I shared this on live on BRAP, but my thought was like, oh, it's they were just, I mean, everyone was kind of poo-pooing Nintendo. I'm like, look, they're the first ones out of the gate, but Microsoft and Sony will follow suit. And I think that, I saw some PlayStation fans celebrating online. I'm like, to those folks, pump your brakes, because I got to believe that PlayStation's probably following suit and will increase the cost of their first party games and their hardware.
Yeah, I mean, we had this discussion before, right? That, there were PlayStation fans, touting that, PlayStation will never raise prices because they know that, people aren't going to pay. Like, no gaming community behavior on the market has established any evidence or proof that there is some mystical ceiling at which all gamers will unilaterally decide that, here's the line and no more. Like, and after those foolish comments were made, what did we get? We got a $700 PlayStation 5 Pro, which has been, I hate to use the term unprecedented, but I would say in the modern era has been unprecedented, You know, you have to go all the way back to the late 90s to Neo Geo and Turbo Graphics, right? Philips CDI maybe, where we had consoles on the market that were you know, $700, and those consoles failed, right? But absolutely, that $700 PS5 Pro is currently being supported in the market by people, by consumers having a willingness to pay.
Yeah.
None of these guys are good guys. None of them are altruistic. You know, I talked about this before, many times before. We keep trying to overlay these false ethical and moral frameworks on top of corporations, and they are not human beings. They are run by human beings, but a corporation is not a human being. It is not a singular sentient entity. It does not have notions of a conscience. It does not. Companies don't go, oh, if I raise the price on this, am I not going to heaven? No, that's not how they behave. You know? Jeez, like stop. Like that is not the rubric by which they instantiate governance in a corporation and make decisions.
No, they are in the business of making money. It's capitalism. They are literally in the business of making money. I had this argument with my folks about manufacturing the other day, and I said, yeah, some manufacturing might come back, but understand that manufacturing left the U.S. because companies were what? They want more money. It was cheaper for them to do so. It was a cost benefit to them. They made more money by doing that, and companies want to make more money. Just capitalism, you know. And so, yeah, I don't disagree, Logic, that people often put these ascribe, some moral values to these companies. And they shouldn't, because these companies are driven by one thing, and that's their bottom line. You know, but I think, I think the conversation. I feel like the conversation, and I'm not surprised by the price increase. I'm actually surprised by Microsoft increasing hardware, to an extent. But I think some of this is in part due to the tariffs, trade policies that are happening right now. But on the software front, I can't say I'm surprised, because I think we've talked about this, Logic. Like, there's always been a trajectory of the increase of software prices. I think, would you say on average 10 years or something?
Yeah.
But it's
been a range of like it averages out to a range of like 8 to 10 years.
But I've been arguing, to kind of steal a quote for you. We've been riding off the hog, or eating? I forget what you said.
Living high on the hog.
Living high on the hog for such a long time. And these developers, like, yeah, we've had that, $60 price point for 10 years, but within that 10 years, the cost of development is still skyrocketed. Like, that price can't stay static. These companies can't lose money. And so I think, I personally think that they're like, hey, you know what? We can't do this anymore. We can't sustain this business model where games are static. The price of games is static for $60, but the cost to make these games is increasing year over year.
I mean, here's an unsympathetic thing to say, but it is a reality check. Just people aren't going to like it, but I'm just going to, again, keep it a buck. What companies have done in the face of rising production costs is that they have determined other ways to monetize, right? And to recoup those investment costs. So where has that come from? That has come from microtransactions, from season passes, and other things of that nature. So what some of you guys are going to dislike is the fact is that some of you guys in the single player gaming space, right, who that's like your bag, and those are the games that you appreciate, your games have been helped. They have therefore been subsidized by other business models, right, and other monetization schemes in the market. And what's happening right now is, unfortunately, you're coming to a point where your prices, your production costs are no longer going to be borne by people playing other types of games. And so what these companies are saying is they're now coming for you and saying you guys need to participate and help in bearing out the production costs of your games.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, Logic. And again, like, we're not saying this to defend price increases. We're just, this is why this is happening. Let me grab the super chat here. But we're copying the $2 super chat says, what do you say about gaming journalists poo-poo $80? What? I'm not following that question, Bor.
I think, and I had this conversation in a Discord server earlier this week. I think the question is one of the things we always say, particularly on this podcast, is the market doesn't respond to you complaining about prices on social media. The market responds to the market's willingness to pay. And so you can shout and scream and yell and grab up torches and pitchforks and storm the Bastille, threaten the czars with the overturn of the czarist kingdom or whatever. But like, the companies don't respond to that, right? They respond to people how they behave with their wallet. And I called out big influencers a week ago, right? Who say one thing and behave another, right? And it was interesting. Another podcast host, we were kind of engaged in a conversation with a lot of other people. And they said, well, but is there a notion that something should be said in an effort to, if these companies have any concern about their PR and their image and how they're seen, is there not a valid point in making an effort to kind of shout some of this down? Yea, verily, the percentage chance that they're going to respond to that may only be 1%. But shouldn't there at least be an effort? And part of my response to that is there becomes a point where I can see that perspective, right, and maybe start to agree with it. But what I feel like, and I think this is the systems engineer side of me who spends a lot of time, right, working on requirements for customers. What I say to customers when they say, hey, I want a thing, but a thing is too expensive, I offer them alternatives. And that to me is the missing part of the conversation. Like, you want to yell and scream and shout about $80 video games, that's fine. But my point is like, when you go to a fan base and you say you shouldn't pay $80 for video games, and then you just stop, like, that's the end of your statement. Like, what are you saying? Are you telling them just to give up gaming? Because I don't think that's a very practical. I don't think that's a very practical advice option.
But we also don't do that. We also don't do that logic. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we also don't do that when we talk about other consumer goods. I feel like when we had this conversation with, say, tennis shoes, hey, I don't want to spend $200 for a pair of Jordans. Okay, well, just get the get the Giannis's for for $80.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's almost a dead end conversation. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And my point is like, so what you should do, right? You should and also, like, you shouldn't also give them one recommendation, because the typical thing in the gaming conversation is you shouldn't buy $80 games. Xbox offers this $199 console. I guess it's higher price now. Xbox offers this $199 console, and you can subscribe to Game Pass. It plays games at a higher resolution than the Nintendo Switch 2, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, that's a disingenuous recommendation, because what you're recommending to them is just a product, right, option from your own preferred platform, right? The way you would have a genuine conversation is you would say, hey, I don't think you should, and I'm using Nintendo as an example, I don't think you should pay $80 for Mario Kart. At $450 for the price of a Nintendo Switch 2, here are your three other options, right? You can, there's lots more cloud streaming becoming available. It offers a high fidelity experience. That should be a thing that you should consider. You should consider maybe the Xbox Series S. When all these things people throw out and they say, oh, well, the Steam Deck is like $399. It's actually cheaper than Nintendo Switch 2. And I'm like, okay, it's cheaper. It also has lower specs. And not as good a screen, lower resolution. And it's got a 90 hertz screen, but there's no games being played on the Steam Deck that do 90 frames per second, right? So, like, again, all these disingenuous alternatives that people are offering, the $700, you can build a PC for $700 as an alternative to PS5. Like, it's just like, if people were going to legitimately complain about prices, I feel like what you would do is you would list people, like, the top three alternatives, right, to doing that. That would make me feel like a person was having a genuine, credible, right, conversation. But that's not typically what we see.
I want to go back to what I was saying about the cost of development. Sean Layden talked about this this is 5 years ago, interview with GameIndustry.biz, where he said he talks about the challenges of the business model of making AAA games. He said the single most important reason why the AAA model is unsustainable is not escalating costs or team sizes. He says it's one of the weird freaks of natures. He says that though no matter how big the game gets in terms of development costs, the basic price has always stayed the same. And the audience is very sensitive to the idea of it ever being higher. He then says, it's been $60 since I started in this business, but the cost of games have gone up 10 times. If you don't have a elasticity on the price point, but you have huge volatility on the cost line, the model becomes more difficult. And that's kind of what I was saying, getting at earlier, that, you know, that this model can't continue as is. And this is why we're seeing, I think this is why we're seeing a price increase of $80 by the way, a $10 price increase within the same generation, I might add, because we had a $10 increase at the start of this generation, and now we're a little bit over the halfway point of the of this console life cycle, and we're getting another price increase. Any other thoughts on price increases before we move on?
No, but I mean, it just, like you said, the I guess the time frame, like you said, somebody was saying, man, $70 games barely got a generation, and we're already looking to push up. I think the key thing that I will tell people, at least from what I've seen, despite Microsoft saying that whole $80 thing, and not that I really believe anything Microsoft says these days, for the record, because they're constantly changing their minds. But they claim that the $80 increase thing will be subject to variable pricing, as Nintendo has also stated. So while they'll charge you 80 for Mario Kart, they'll charge you 70 for other games, and like the upcoming remaster for Bravely Default that is coming to Switch 2, that's going to be $40 when it launches. So we'll see how well or not these companies actually deal with variable pricing. It's a strategy we've talked about before, that definitely needs to be a key factor. Companies need to be very aware of the price that their game actually warrants. And I think that'll be the key for a lot of these companies going forward. Because if they think they could just smack $80 on everything, oh man, it's a lot of games. It's gonna be sitting on the shelves for quite some time. So they definitely want to be careful. And hey, what's up, Ghost? I see you, bro.
So, Nate, I don't directly disagree with you, but I would ask, have we not had games on the market? Like the pricing strategy to date has been to set a stock price, right? To say games are $70, games are $60, and it doesn't matter what the scope or scale of that game is, right? It's a flat price, it's a portfolio level price, right? And that's what's going to be on offer. Yeah. So I don't, like I said, I don't philosophically disagree with you, but then I ask, I feel like what we've seen evidence on the market where, when it was the old model, right, of static pricing, that static pricing was applied, unless there was a huge gulf in scale, right? Enough of a gulf in scale for them to say this game should be a $30 or $40 game, right? Or this is there's kind of been 3 t-shirt sizes on the market, right? But it's been a very soft notion of like a ceiling at which point games were, right, the stock price of $60 or $70.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, that's why I said I like, as much as they say, they're going to have this, they're entering this variable pricing era. I'm just like, I don't really believe you. Well,
that's actually why I say, this is why I have said in the past, they would not do variable rate pricing, right? Because of that. Because I go back to my comment that I typically make in the software industry, which is I don't have a discussion. I don't present information to customers that I'm not actually looking for their feedback for. Yeah. right. Like usually that's like in the realms of design. Like it's up for you to say what you need. It's up for me to say how we're going to build it. Right. And so I don't have a discussion with you about how I'm building it because I'm not asking for your input. Right. Variable rate pricing to me invites a discussion, right? It says, now I'm gonna open up my robe, right, and give right, and give room for there to be input on whether or not people feel like this is an $80 game, this is a $70 game, this is a $60 game, this is a $50 game. And I said, well, we haven't done variable rate pricing because companies don't want to have that discussion with you. You know?
No, I agree. That's why I think it's gonna be weird for them. Uh, going forward if they're actually going to do that. But yeah, I agree that they do invite that discussion when they start to do that. Um, I think what I'm interested in most, and this is definitely a discussion I'm probably going to have on my show tomorrow, but with a game, obviously like Expedition 33 coming out and being $50, um, and like I said, people will feel how they want to feel about the game ultimately, but nothing is left to be determined about the Metacritic score, right? It's one of the highest rated games of the year, period. And if you count it by number of reviews, it is the highest rated game of the year. Um, but that game coming out at $50 and being this phenomenal release, being this massive game, this beautiful game. It doesn't sacrifice visual fidelity. It doesn't sacrifice, writing or great characters or combat systems and mechanics or any of this stuff. And it's like, I think, teams like that, um, as, the tools come about, because they did mention that. I watched, um, a interview with the director, another person that worked on the game, and everybody keeps like, how'd you do it? How did you create this massive game and then say here, $50, and it was on sale, in a ton of places. Like most people didn't even pay that, on if you had PlayStation Plus, it was $44 digital. If you picked it up on PC, like Green Man Gaming had it for like $31. I myself picked up the Lumiere edition because I don't play like that when it comes to games that I love. So I picked up the $70 version, and I'm glad I did because now people begging for that one, by the way, all over social media, and they're not going to get it because it's sold out. Um, but like, what are they going to do, and like how are they going to feel going forward with some of these games? Because I mean, to me, I'm already question, the $70 games, and I've seen a lot of people that do, right? Like if you're not up to top tier standard at this point, if you're not an absolute must buy day one, like if you're not my Death Stranding, you're not my, my Intergalactics, my Ghost of Yote, like I'm sorry, I'm already questioning that. So at $80, I'm gonna question it even more because I think you talked about this right at one point, but the theory behind pricing and the way it works with people, the reason they price something at $49.99 and not $50. But the closer there's a thing about the theory, the closer you get to $100, the way people's minds work, man, that's $100. Like you'll hear people say that all the time. It's not actually $100, but if it's so close to $100, people start saying, well, that costs $100, especially once you visit an $80 price tag plus tax. Especially if you live in like the state of New York or something, like the taxes they pay, sales tax they pay is crazy. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see this versus or back and forth, or if we get some things that I guess meld better or help bring down the cost for at least some of these studios, depending on how they move forward with certain given tools. Um, Seeing who can really adapt, because like I said, that there seems to be two things happening right now. You still got your high risk, high reward, single player games, but like you said, they're typically being subsidized by some of these multiplayer titles. And then you've got the ex devs started a studio, and now with Expedition 33 being the biggest success of that so far, and many more on the way. It'll be interesting to see the battle between the two, and see if there's just like a happy medium somewhere in there where we can manage the cost better in the industry overall. I think that's a question I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said, Logic, earlier about different like options. I do agree with you. I want to bring it up again because I really think that's something that's not really talked about enough. because they are different. I mean, you obviously can wait for a sale, right? Trading your games at GameStop, but there's also cheaper options in the market. Not all games are going to be $80. We know this. Microsoft said that not all of our games are going to be $80. Same with Nintendo. They are cheaper options on the market. There are other ways to engage gaming, subscription services. There's free to play games. There's AA games. There's indie games that are typically priced much less. So there's definitely other options. And I just don't, for whatever reason, I don't understand why that's not talked about enough, but those things should be talked about. Especially, and I got to imagine that, we're going to talk about GTA 6 here in a bit. But you have to imagine that a game like GTA 6, the rumor's been maybe this game comes at $100. And I think you talked about $100 price point. And I think you said this too, Logic. I don't think it's a matter of if, but when we hit $100 price point in video games. It's going to happen. I'm not saying I'm championing it. And people are like, oh, BRAP, you just want a higher price. No, I'm saying that it's probably going to happen at some point. All right. Speaking of GTA 6, we caught news of Grand Theft Auto 6 being delayed. Oh shoot, I just had the article up. Now I lost it. It's May of next year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let me just double check here. Yes, delayed till May 2026. So this was it's interesting because we were talking about Randy Pitchford and Borderlands 4, that release date, I think of September for Borderlands 4, and kind of like, hey, that's Randy getting out of the way of GTA 6. Which was anticipated to release this year, the end of this year, but no, this is delayed now to 2026. So, my initial reaction to this was like this a little disappointing. I'm looking forward to GTA 6, but gives me more time to play other stuff. I do think this has been a great year for gaming so far, so I'm okay with the delay. But what do you guys think about delay of GTA 6? Anyone planning on getting GTA 6?
I mean, I could personally care less. I haven't played a GTA since Vice City, and I don't have any interest in them. So the fact that it's getting out of the way, I mean, the impact of that for me is that great. Now that that's out of the windshield, a lot of these publishers and studios who have been holding back and we're thinking about not even releasing their game until calendar year Q1 of 2026 can go ahead and flood the zone, right, and get some release dates out for their stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. What about you, Innate? I think it did. I guess Innate stepped away. All right, I guess Innate stepped away. Yeah. All right, Logic. There is a release coming out. Hold on a sec here. Pull this up. Oh, shoot. Oh. Doom Dark Ages, which will be coming out on Game Pass, which one of the reasons why I'm in Game Pass. Coming out May 13th, man. Are you excited for Doom?
Yeah, I'll be playing it. I'm a I don't want to say a classic Doom player. I've definitely onboarded since Doom 3. And I've completed Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. So yeah, those are games that I play and actually games that I tend to complete. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially on PC.
Yeah, I will be playing it on PC, so I'm not shamed again. No, I'm looking forward to. I've been a fan of the Doom games. There's a little bit of nostalgia for me with Doom, and just like there's Castle Wolfenstein. But I'm excited. Like I when they showed off the mech, I was sold. I'm like, yes, I get to man a mech and ride a dragon. Like, yeah, I'm there. I'm good. And then the shield, I'm like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for this though. I just need to get through Expedition 33 in the next 11 days. That's what I'm giving myself to complete. that game. So
Yeah,
I'm about. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's it. That shouldn't be tough.
You know, I'm about. I think I'm about 15, 16 hours in Expedition 33 now. I forget how long the game is, but I
If
probably
you're on a regular run, it's supposed to be about a 30-hour game. So I hit the final boss battle at 30 hours. And I had to go back and I was pretty much exactly on track with what has been defined at 65% through the game, like almost right on. So 65% of the game is 19 and a half hours. I came in at 19 hours and 21 minutes. I am having to go back and do some grinding now. So that is taking me some extra time because I was under leveled when I got to the final boss. But yeah, it's supposed to be about a 30-hour game for the main campaign. The tough the tough thing is you don't know or understand in all cases when you are hitting side missions. And so your notion of the time that you're spending getting through can become a little skewed just because you don't know. And you kind of won't until you either get to the end of the game and go back, or else like you're reading guides, which I mean, I personally feel like reading guides in this game, except on a very limited, like you and I talked about, like there was one boss there was one boss who showed a particular pattern in their behavior that that is highly unusual and differentiated from any other boss you face in the game. And I did have to hit a guide to find out like what the hell is this that they're doing. But other than that, I mean, my personal suggestion would be like stay away from guides as much as possible. But yeah, you're probably about 50% through.
Okay, that's good because I definitely will. I don't want to miss the launch of Doom. When that comes out in 11 days. So, Nate, are you back? I guess he's not back. All right. So, all right. Well, on that note, Logic, are there any other topics you want to discuss? Those are the only topics that I had for tonight.
I think the one other comment I would have made is I see a lot going on in social media saying, thank goodness, big sigh of relief. All these companies now that GTA 6 is next year can feel comfortable at having a shot at Game of the Year. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. No GTA has been a legitimate contender for any Game of the Year except GTA 5 won one Golden Joystick Award. And then there have been other GTAs that have won Spike Video Game Awards, but I do not consider Spike Video Games to be a legitimate, credible award show. So there was never, in my opinion, there was never any threat of GTA 6 winning Game of the Year. Like that is just not the type of games that they are. They are certainly going to be the best selling game, unquestionably, but sales are not awards. So let's stop all this ridiculous like reaching that GTA 6 was going to be some contender for Game of the Awards. It was not. Clair Obscur and Kingdom Come Deliverance were always secure, right? In their notion of they're being in the pecking order of being contenders. And other games will come along that will be contenders as well. I don't think GTA 6 was a legitimate threat for Game of the Year awards as far as like shouldering anybody out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see. Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, that was actually a good point that you made because as much as I love GTA, I don't really remember it ever really winning Game of the Year. Like I might have felt that way, when GTA 5 first came out or something, and I was losing my mind because I definitely was, but I don't ever remember it winning Game of the Year. So yeah, that is extremely accurate.
Yeah, I can't recall it being in the conversation. I could be wrong, but I don't recall it being in the conversation either. Again, I fully expect, and I talked about this at the start of the show. We talk about Game of the Year. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 will be there. The Joseph Fares game, what's it called?
Fiction.
Split Fiction will probably be
definitely gonna be there. That game blew my mind.
Yeah, maybe maybe Ghost of Yote, maybe depending on how that game sticks to landing. But I expect that to be a good game just based on its predecessor, Ghost of Tsushima, and then Death Stranding 2 might be there. I mean, Death Stranding was in conversation for Game of the Year. So,
yeah, I mean, the original Death Stranding is one of the few games, and I've stated this plenty of times, I gave a 10 out of 10. in like the past decade. Like, so I give those out
Yeah.
very sparingly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that game took it to a whole different level for me. So yeah, I mean, Death Stranding 2, I think definitely could be in that conversation as well. So it is a heavy hitter year. Um, I mean, I hate it for some of these people who apparently don't play any of these games. They're like, "Oh, it's the worst generation ever, man. Oh my God, it's so terrible." And I'm just like, "Is it?" Because I'm just having a ball juggling top tier games right now. So I can't relate.
No, I hear you. That's definitely a lot. I mean, I like I said this earlier. I think this has been a solid year of gaming. I don't, I often see people complaining on social media. I'm like, why are you complaining? There's so many great games to play right now.
So many, and it's only May, like
And that
it's only May.
and that's my thing, right? And really, the great releases that I wouldn't even put May in the conversation. Right, the great releases that we've talked about up to this day have just been through the first 4 months of the year. It's, in my opinion, it's absolutely unprecedented, the bonga start out of the gates that this year in gaming has gotten. And I'm with you. It's a in my opinion, it's a sad state of affairs for you as a gamer if you're standing around saying gaming is mid in 2025. Like, you just
Yeah.
you have a problem.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then we just had Borderlands 4 that got shown, and anyone who's a big fan of that, and I know my boy Slow Mo, another panel member, and guest on the show, was hype and in my comments, and I know as my he has like he's like one of the few people who has like as much time in Borderlands as me. Uh, it's gonna be their day one, man. I just can't wait to play. Like, I think people underestimate a great co-op experience as well with you and the boys and everybody, man. Like, I can't wait to play Borderlands 4 with so many people. Like, you're talking about a real, true, great drop in, drop out co-op experience. Nobody does drop in, drop out co-op like Borderlands. And it looks like a lot of the feedback was heard from fans. The game looked incredible. They showed it on the PS5 Pro. Hero was in the chat talking about he's picking it up. I know I think I call it Logic is playing through some of the Borderlands right now, going back through them, and it's crossplay day one. So no matter where you play, we can all play together regardless. So yeah, man. I mean, I hope that game sticks to landing as well, and is phenomenal, and the writing is back on point where it needs to be. But like I said, early testing for that game, and some people who have got to play it early, who are big fans, have said it is shaping up incredible. So again, another game to just look forward to later in the year in this crazy lineup that we have. That is, like you said, Death Stranding. We still have Metal Gear Solid Delta, Ghost of Yotei, so on and so forth. Like, it just, man, and then Doom, for all the big Doom fans out there. And again, Priscilla will tell you in the chat, she's so excited. She like that little gif of that little girl, rubbing her hands together in excitement, because she was like, oh man, she's so excited. Game Pass is giving her everything right now. So she is, like I said, ecstatic about Expedition 33. As you can see in the chat, she popped up. But also, she's looking forward to Doom. She hasn't gotten into like Doom 2016 or Eternal, but like just seeing the blood and the grounded nature of Doom, Dark Ages, like, again, gonna jump into that for the first time as well. So, like, I don't know, man, this industry's, despite everything that's going on in the turmoil and the economy and all this other stuff, man, like, the releases are firing on all cylinders, and it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's an awesome year, and a year that we had to. I thought Expedition 33 was, when I saw it. Look, I was very intrigued by the reveal. But a game made by a team of 30 devs. I mean, this game may go down as one of my favorite games of this generation.
Yeah, I think it's definitely entering that category for me. Uh, it may enter, and this is really tough because I've had this conversation with someone. My entering my top 10 games is extremely tough. Like, to the point where, like, the top 5 games I don't think will ever change in my life, like, ever. Like, I think they're just solidified. They are, the Mount Rushmore of games in my mind. Like, they just the level of impact they had when they came out, what they've done, will just probably never change. But the rest of, my top 10, that latter top 5 to enter that is extremely tough. Like, there's so many choices, so many things to think about. And the fact that I'm even considering Expedition 33 might enter that is crazy. Like, so if that tells you anything.
No doubt. Well, look, gentlemen, on that note, going to go ahead and wrap up the show. I want to thank everyone and the live chat for hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate the time. As always, do that YouTube thing, hit the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Unfortunately, our other guest, J-Dub, who lost power this evening, could not make it. Big shout out to J-Dub. Hope you're safe. Nate, want to thank you as well for jumping on at the 11th hour. Appreciate it. I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let me know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky at The Real Nate, or tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Otter Players Podcast, where we will be discussing more about gaming, the industry, and everything else going on. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. And Logic, always a pleasure, sir. I don't know if you want to be found this week, but if you do, let me know where they can find you as well.
You can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel. We are not live this Sunday. Just got a lot of schedule contention with the end of the year and kids sports and all that kind of stuff. But we will supposedly be back next Sunday, the May 11th, which is the weekend of Mother's Day. So don't be surprised if we also don't make it that week, but we're going to try. That's what's currently scheduled.
It's a very important day.
It's always suspect whether or not you're going to have sealed the deal on all obligations before you're supposed to go live. It doesn't help that we've moved the show up by an hour. Used to be when we were at 9, it was relatively a good bet that you were going to be all clear. But we'll have to see with the 8 o'clock show.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well,
I'm glad you reminded me of that. I didn't realize Mother's Day was coming up that fast.
Oh yeah,
my mom actually just had surgery, so she's recovering.
I hope she's okay, man.
Yeah. She's good. She's back in good spirits. She's the pain is gone. I guess it was just some healing. They had to remove a mass from her chest, but apparently the director of the hospital did the work, and they said it couldn't have gone any better. Like, they said it was absolute textbook. And last time I talked to her, she's laughing and carrying on. So she's back to having a ball. So yeah, it went really well.
That's good, man. No, that's great to hear, man. That is great to hear. So, but all right, and we'll be back next week. And everyone have a great rest of the week or weekend, I should say. And enjoy your time playing video games, because ultimately that's what it's about: enjoyment and having fun. And until then, we'll catch you next time.